Hello and welcome to the Florida Cable Telecommunications Association's Capitol Dateline Online. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. We're here bringing you this program just a few blocks from the Capitol, and once again, I am joined by Jim Saunders, Executive Editor of the News Service of Florida. Jim, I'm not going to even ask you what's going on today. We know it's the day before the election, but before we begin, the viewers might notice while you are consistently sporting your beard, I have a new one.
It looks very sporty.
Well, thank you. But it's not just for hunting season. It's actually it's a national trend to recognize Movember, which is prostate cancer awareness and other cancers that affect the men of the population. October obviously is all about breast cancer awareness, but this month you grow the beard, you save your razors, and then you donate the money that you would save from the razors to the American Cancer Society and local chapter. So, so for this month, we'll be coming to you with a little extra facial hair, but I'm just trying to keep up with you. All right, so now on to the pressing matter of the election. Tomorrow, it's a big day, it's coming up. So let's start at the top of the ticket. Let's start with the presidential election.
Well, there's a new Quinnipiac poll out this morning that shows it too close to call in Florida. It has Hillary Clinton up by 1 point. But you know, the early voting turnout has been enormous in the state. Combine the in-person early voting with the vote by mail, we've already had more than 6.4 million people vote in Florida.
And the time span on that was so broad, it definitely captured the ebbs and flows of popularity of the two candidates.
Well, and the other interesting thing is who's left to vote tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be, it's just a monumental number of people voting. So, you know, and you've got to look at the different parts of the state. There's some indication that Hispanic turnout in early voting has been pretty heavy,
right,
which would, I think everybody thinks would help Hillary Clinton after, you know, Trump has made so many comments that have angered a lot of Hispanic voters. So that's one issue that's out there. I think it's, you know, it's a little bit hard to tell from these numbers for me, but, and the other thing that's out there that I try to keep in mind is that Donald Trump has been surprising us for more than a year now. I mean, he surprised the whole Republican establishment. He beat, 15 other people in the primaries, and, you know, he's continued moving on. I do think that, you know, some of this stuff about the emails might have gotten curbed a little bit over the weekend when the FBI director indicated that nothing had changed in their conclusions about not prosecuting Hillary Clinton so that may take the edge off of that issue a little bit. But
and once again, I mean, it looks like it's coming down to the independents in Florida, which is the big unknown bogey.
Well, that's the other part of it. I mean, so many people have shifted it to no party affiliation in their registrations that it's hard to know exactly how they're going to split. Again, there's some, anecdotally at least, that a lot of Hispanics in the I-4 corridor have registered as NPAs. But there's also a lot of people in North Florida who are traditional Democrats who have moved away from the party. So, and those are Trump strongholds. So, you know, it's, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I'm not sure whether at this point to know whether the polls are really capturing the dynamics of this race.
Yeah, I think you know, as I talk to the dynamic minds, not only in Florida, but that are looking across the nation, and you look at electoral college picks, it's amazing to see just how different they are, because I think everyone, they're not trusting their polls, they're not trusting history, because this election is like no other we've seen.
Well, I think we do know one thing, that Trump needs to win Florida if he's going to have a chance. I mean, that pretty much is a consensus that he has to win. So he's in Sarasota today, the final day, you know, of campaigning. He's in Sarasota, which is a fairly solidly Republican place, and he's trying to turn out voters there. You know, Joe Biden's in the state for representing the Clinton campaign. He's going to be with Jimmy Buffett in St. Pete. You know, that's a traditional last day thing for Democratic politicians in Florida. And so Cher's going to be, I think, in Miami. So, you know, what more could you want?
Let's talk about the Florida politicians that are still running nationally. We've got the big Senate race between Marco Rubio and Murphy. So where do we see that landing?
Well, the polls are showing Rubio with a you know, fairly comfortable lead. It's not a huge lead, but this Quinnipiac poll showed him at 7 points. Last week it showed him up by 6 points. So I think that there's some thought that he has kind of built some distance there. One thing he has going for him is that he's doing better than Trump with minority voters, which probably goes back to his Cuban American heritage. And the support that he's had over the years in Dade County and some other areas, and he's also doing better with women voters. He's done better than Trump on some of those groups, and he does have a lead. It appears, at least in the polls. Again, turnout. Susan McManus, who's a political science professor at University of South Florida, said that Murphy's hope is to I forget what it's pantsuit ties or something.
Right. Pantsuit coattails.
Coattails, yes, that's what it was.
Yes.
And that if Murphy's got a chance, he's going to have to, if Clinton performs well, that he would grab onto Clinton's coattails and win.
Well, so far that race looks like it's kind of defying that kind of logic. So we'll see if Hillary's coming back, though. It probably does play in his favor. So let's go to some of these congressional battlegrounds. We've had some fun over in St. Pete watching former Governor Christ and Representative Jolly going at each other.
There's really only three or four maybe real big congressional races in the state. Probably the most high profile, one of them, is former Governor Christ and David Jolly. That district has been redrawn to lean Democratic. It's in Pinellas County. But Jolly's putting up quite a fight there to hold on to his seat. He grew up there. He's got a base there. He worked for Bill Young, the longtime congressman there. So he's got a base. So that's an interesting one to watch. Over in the Orlando area, one that I also think is interesting is that John Mike is getting a big fight from Stephanie Murphy, who's a Democrat. Democrats have poured a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of time into trying to unseat Micah. That district, Seminole County, which is pretty Republican, but it also goes into Orange County now. And, there's a lot of Democrats in Orange County now. So another big one is down in Miami to watch. Carlos Curbelo is trying to defend his seat against Joe Garcia, the former congressman. And the other main one I think people are watching is Patrick Murphy's seat that he is vacating to run for the U.S. Senate. Brian Mast and Randy Perkins are running in that seat, which is in northern Palm Beach County and up in the Treasure Coast. The Republicans think they can pick up that seat. Yeah. Those are really, a lot of these congressional races were decided in the primaries, right. So there's only a handful that we're really watching tomorrow.
Redistricting, so it may not have paid the dividends that many parties on both sides had hoped.
Well, I think we're seeing that in the congressional as well as in these legislative races. The Democrats look like they may pick up a couple seats here and a couple seats there, but I don't think it's I think some Democrats saw the redistricting process as an opportunity to pick up a lot of seats, and right. I'm not sure we're seeing that at this point.
All right.